There wasn't much entertainment in our village. Especially if you are an adult. It's easier for the children, they each grabbed a stick, ran up the mountain, and now a whole jousting tournament began in their native village. It is more difficult for adults, jousting tournaments were not in fashion then. We had fun as much as we could. TV, gatherings over a glass of alcohol, sometimes a nightclub if it became completely boring. And the people were more active in hunting and fishing. In every house, in every entrance, one could definitely find an avid hunter or fisherman. And at the same time, it was difficult to find a fisherman, a hunter who would not know about the damned hut, which everyone tried to bypass. Unfortunately, I can't remember where exactly it was. I only remember that it was far from the village, somewhere deep in the forest. Some lovers of forest outings built themselves a hut in the forest so that there would be a place to spend the night if they came for several days. I do not know how old she was, this hut. I don't know her background. But regularly, from a variety of people, old and young, skeptics and especially impressionable, I heard a lot of different stories. All as one said that the hut is cursed. And here are some stories. History first. Old woman. 2 men, my father's friends, while fishing, stopped for the night in a hut, as they planned to continue fishing in the morning. It began to get dark, it was time to turn up and go to the hut, boil the fish soup and go to bed. We agreed that one would go ahead and start cooking while the other would pack everything and find a good place to park the boat. Further from his words.
I come to the hut, my legs don't hold at all, I'm tired during the day, as if I plowed the whole field alone. I decided to lie down for a while, rest, take a breath, and then take up my ear. There were 2 bunk beds in the hut. I lay down on one of them, on the second tier, and seemed to doze off a little. I woke up from the fact that someone slammed the door. I turn around and see an old woman crawling towards me on the stairs to the second tier, gray-haired, her skin sagging, as if she was already 300 years old, no less, straight from a horror movie. He rises slowly, looks at me without taking his eyes off and smiles maliciously. I froze with fear, I cannot move. All I could do was turn back to face the wall and close my eyes, in the hope that I was all dreaming. And I myself feel how she lay down behind me, and put her hand on me. I lay like that for about 2 minutes, and all this time she whispers something, quietly, quietly, the words cannot be made out, and laughs. The hair on my head stood on end, I feel her breath on the back of my head. He could not stand it, suddenly grew bolder, turned and yelled at her. And the grandmother immediately, at that second, as if she fell through the ground. The second comrade returned a couple of minutes later, he did not believe in the story. Until the night came. I couldn't sleep, and I was still sitting at the table by the window, looking at the dying fire, lit in the yard, when I suddenly saw an old woman standing between the trees not far from the hut and looking at him. I believed. Woke up a friend and told him. They sat together until the morning, could not sleep for fear. In the morning we packed our things and left. They did not stay in the hut anymore.
The second story. Bake. My friend's uncle told his sad experience. He went hunting alone in the winter. Decided to stay in the hut for the night. He arrived early in the morning, heated the stove well, and went hunting. As it began to get dark, he returned to the hut, had dinner and fell asleep. Further from his words.
Before I could lie down, I heard the sound of footsteps on the street. Someone is walking. I decided that it seemed. I lie down and listen. A minute, another, again steps, but this time more active, faster, as if they had switched to running. Well, I guess not exactly. At first, I did not think of anything paranormal. The hut is known to many, people often stop in it. Well, I think, the company, apparently, I will have for the night. Opened the door, closed on a hook, went out into the street, and there is nobody, no people, no animals, no footprints. As everything was covered with snow, it remained so. I only see my footprints, left by me today. I returned to the house, I sit, I listen. It was quiet for a while. I was already thinking of going to bed, but then again I heard footsteps. The sound is distinct, not to be confused, a characteristic creaky sound, like a crust breaking under the weight of someone's legs. And then it began. Once, someone hit the wall, very, very hard. I already jumped on the spot in surprise. And then again, and again, and again. Someone beats, does not let up. Suddenly, the knocking stopped abruptly, and I hear someone walking towards the front door. My heart began to jump out of my chest. I forgot to throw the door hook back after I went out into the street. I rushed to the door, grabbed the handle, pull it towards me, and I hear footsteps very close already. I throw on the hook and freeze holding the handle. I am afraid to let go. For a minute, everything was quiet again, and suddenly, as someone blows the door with all the dope, and how let us pull out the door, pulling it back and forth, trying to break in. I am standing, frozen all over. I think, if I let go, the hook will not withstand, it will be uprooted. And again it was quiet, and again the steps were quick around the hut. I took the gun, loaded it, stood in the middle of the hut, ready to shoot, and my hands are trembling. I can't even hold it. I suddenly hear a roar on the roof. "Get on the roof, you bastard!" Stumbled, stomped and quieted down. I am waiting. Well, I think you can enter from the roof. And then I hear something climbing up the chimney. Specifically, it makes its way through it. This is where I couldn't resist. He grabbed things and jumped out of the hut like a bullet. He didn't even look back. He was so scared. I ran out to the road, jumped into the car and rushed home. I still remember, it makes me shudder.
Those are some weird stories. There are actually a lot of them. What is true, what is not, you can't make out and check. But I personally would not check it myself, probably. Now I don't know if this hut still exists or not.